Right, final story here. Puberty blockers paused for children in Scotland. I can scarcely believe that I'm reading out the headline almost as if that should be a shock. Well, of course they should be paused for children in anywhere, wherever it happens to be. Their only gender identity clinic for under 18s has paused prescribing puberty blockers to kids. I think this comes in the wake of not just the Cass report, but most people in the medical world, there are exceptions, say these are probably not a good thing. They're probably not very good for you, and they're not really reversible without some form of damage.
Yeah, I mean, science doesn't stop at the border. The idea that Scotland could have held a different policy to England after the Cass review, it just beggars belief. It's interesting to see that the Scottish Labour Party has held the same position that the National Labour Party have had, where Streeting obviously came out and said that we agree with the findings of the Cass review. They've essentially said the same thing. This is a science-led decision. Obviously, it's shocking it's taken them such a long time to come round here, but I will say that, you know, Scotland likes to measure itself and saying, well, we're following what Sweden, Denmark, you know, the Scandinavian model of healthcare. We're following that very closely. All of these countries have also paused giving puberty blockers to children. So it's really wonderful that, you know, it's nice to see that the entire country is getting behind this as the sensible thing to do. Although, again, it does come down to how many people have been let down in the interim. This has just taken us way, way, way too long to get to what I think is a pretty obvious position.
It's exactly that. I think anyone, you know, a non-clinician could look at this and go, well, surely, you know, 16-year-old, really?
Yeah.
Do we want to be doing that? And it sounds that this is about someone's politics rather than their medical acumen. This is, you know, all about people who want to live in a world where they believe this stuff.
Yeah, and the SNP
we've seen it, and the SNP are right up there for that.
I mean, they've had to be dragged kicking and streaming to this position. The way that they treated Joanna Cherry, who MSP, who's quite gender critical in her views, has been a very vocal opponent of child gender transition, has been quite cautious of puberty blockers, has been treated pretty, I think, extraordinarily by the party, has not been giving the support she's needed. And now, all of a sudden, there's this cover of the Cass review that people, I imagine, will come out of the woodwork and say, oh, well, I thought that all along. It's like, well, if you thought it all along, why didn't you support
Why didn't you say it? And just to give us an indication of how, you know, rotten, really, or disingenuous politics is, Youssef, who runs the SNP, of course, I don't believe for 1 second he believes in this stuff.
Oh, no.
Not for 1 second.
No. I think it's entirely cynical. It's a partisan line. It's going, I don't want to be with the Tories. I don't want to admit all of these nasty feminists I don't agree with are right. So I'm going to stick to my position. I'll be like the last centurion, even if innocent young people are getting hurt by it.
Absolutely. As bonkers as it is, we'll because we feel we've got almost some moral high ground. I don't know why anybody thought the moral high ground lay on this particular hill. Because it's a curious place for anybody to think that this was okay in the first place.
And the fight isn't over here. You know, the Cass review was just the beginning. You know, we have to make sure that this is not the end of it, and we keep up the pressure, and we keep saying that science is what we are listening to, not activism, not partisanship.
Indeed. Listen, Poppy, thank you.
Thanks.
Good to see you, as ever. Poppy with us from the Telegraph here on talkTV.